Realme Narzo 30 Pro 5G hands-on review.
But before we start, please support us by pressing the like and subscribe buttons, so that we can continue to provide the latest information about gadgets and technology. Also turn on the bell button to get the latest updates. Your support means a lot to us. Thank you.
The Realme Narzo 30 Pro 5G is the first 5G-enabled smartphone from Realme's Narzo series, but more importantly, the company claims that this is the fastest mid-range gaming smartphone to hit the market. It was announced back in February, but this is our first close encounter with the device. We've prepared a couple of benchmarks in the following pages to see if the device is really the fastest one in its class. The Dimensity 800U is no laughing matter indeed. At just around 17,000 Indian rupees, the India-exclusive Narzo 30 Pro 5G is one of the cheapest 5G-enabled devices around. It sports some gaming-specific features like a 120Hz display with a 180Hz touch sampling rate. Realme Narzo 30 Pro 5G specs at a glance: body, 162.2 by 75.1 by 9.1 mm, 196 grams, Gorilla Glass 3 front, plastic body. Display: 6.50 IPS LCD, 120 Hz, 480 nits, TYP, 600 nits, peak, 1080 by 2400 px resolution, 20:9 aspect ratio, 405 pixels per inch. Chipset: MediaTek MT6853 Dimensity 800U 5G, 7 nm, octa-core, 2 by 2.4 GHz Cortex A76 and 6 by 2.0 GHz Cortex A55, Mali G57MC3. Memory: 64 GB 6 GB RAM, 128 GB 8 GB RAM, UFS 2.1, micro SDXC, uses shared SIM slot. OS, software, Android 10, Realme UI. Rear camera: wide, main, 48MP, f. 1.8, 26mm, 1/2. 0.8 micrometers, PDAF. Ultra-wide angle: 8MP, f. 2.3, 119, 1/4. 1.12 micrometers. Macro: 2MP, f. 2.4. Front camera: 16MP, f. 2.1, 26mm, wide, 1/3. 1.0 micrometers. Video capture: rear camera, 4K at 30 fps, 1080p at 30, 60/120 fps, Euro ICE. Front camera, 1080p at 30 fps, Euro ICE. Battery: 5000 mAh, fast charging 30W, 50% in 25 minutes, 100% in 65 minutes. Advertised: Dart charge, power delivery 15W. MISC: fingerprint reader, side-mounted, 3.5mm jack, no NFC. We couldn't spot but notice that the Narzo 30 Pro 5G is far from a completely new device. The device is based on the Realme 7 5G with little to no difference. However, it kind of makes sense since the latter didn't reach India, and it was made available only for certain markets. And India is the key market for the Narzo 30 Pro 5G. Unfortunately, in an attempt to adjust the price point better for the Indian market, Realme had to slash a couple of features. There's no depth sensor, which isn't a big loss anyway, but the base model starts at 6GB, 64GB compared to 6GB, 128GB in Europe. An NFC is now gone, but NFC contactless payments are not an important feature in India anyway. We had a chance to go hands-on with the Narzo 30 Pro 5G, so join us as we see what this phone is all about. Given the resemblance of the Narzo 30 Pro 5G to the Realme 7 5G, it's understandable that both devices would feel identical in hand. The only visual difference is how the back panel is designed. While the Realme 7 5G adopts the rather recognizable matte strip combined with a slightly glossier finish, the Narzo gets a clean-looking design. The back panel is still made of plastic, but the silky smooth finish makes it feel more premium than it actually is. Of course, this finish can't go without the usual smudges all around, but they are easy to come off. It's also understandably slippery, yet it's not uncomfortable to hold. The matte finish of the side frame matches the back design perfectly and provides some extra grip. In case you were wondering, we got the blade silver color, but we guess the other color sword black may hide fingerprint smudges better.
The camera protrusion is just enough to cause the phone to wobble on a flat surface, but it's not enough to make it look or feel bad in any way. To be honest, we found the front-facing camera's punch hole to be more distracting. It's pretty big. On the other hand, this is the standard these days, not only with Realme's design. Off to a more positive note, the buttons on the side feel nice and clicky but, more importantly, well positioned. The power button that doubles as a fingerprint reader has its own indentation and works just as fine in our experience. We can't say that we had many misreadings, and it also feels super snappy. All in all, the Narzo 30 Pro 5G is a well-built device with no apparent drawbacks. It's on par with the competition, and even though it's marketed as a gaming device, there's nothing about the design that would discourage someone looking for a fine mid-ranger to buy it. And there's nothing special to the design too. As we already said in the beginning, there's little to no difference between the Realme Narzo 30 Pro 5G and the Realme 7 5G. The same Dimensity 800U chipset powers up the two devices, and the same 6.5-inch, 120Hz IPS LCD panel sits on the front. We will talk about the SoC later, so for now, let's see how the HRR is handled. The software provides three modes: Auto, 60 Hz and 120 Hz. All three are pretty self-explanatory, but we dug a little deeper into the Auto mode and checked the refresh rate management in commonly used apps and menus. And as it turns out, most of the apps and menus run at 90 FPS. Only a handful of apps were capped at 60 FPS, like Chrome, YouTube when playing a video on full screen and the default video player. And at no point did we see the display hit 120 Hz. So if you want the most fluid experience, we suggest sticking to the 120 Hz mode. There's some smart switching with the 120 Hz mode, too. A static screen will default down to 60 Hz as well as video players. Oh, and Chrome works in 120 FPS. Sharing the same panel means that we have some hard data on how bright the Narzo 30 Pro 5G can get, and that's a little over 480 nits in manual and about 570 nits in auto mode. We believe that these numbers apply to both phones, which in turn means that it should be sufficiently bright on a sunny day outside. To our surprise, the Narzo 30 Pro 5G starts at 6GB, 64GB instead of the base 128GB storage the Realme 7 5G offers. The same, relatively UFS 2.1 storage has been used, though. The overall camera experience should be identical, too, as it only misses the depth sensor, which has questionable usability to begin with. The main camera uses the popular 4.8MP, 1/2. 0.8 micrometers sensor bundled with an f1.8 aperture. The standard for this Class 8MP f2.3 ultrawide camera is also at hand. The 2MP macro camera also remains along with the 1.6MP f2.1 front-facing unit. Battery capacity is still at 5000 mAh, and even though the 30W fast charging has been retained, the previous generation Narzo 20 Pro had a 65W charging support with a smaller 4500 mAh battery. Realme is known to drastically changing or even downgrading the specs of its newer generation of phones. Realme explained that due to the changing dynamics of the market, some features are left out in favor of others each year.
Thanks for watching. Drop a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to watch more videos like this.